an example where you're like, oh, hey, well, I produce like 70% of my own food. You know, and I only, like for him, it's like, I only needed salt. What? You know, that's a pretty powerful example. If we can create more of those, and that's kind of what my plan is. So once our food forest gets to be more mature, right, and my partner and my stepson, they hunt, right, so already, you know, we got some food security there. And in Montana, we're in the Gallatin Valley, we're in an ag community, right? So it's actually quite easy to do like a 50-mile or 100-mile diet. You know, we have meat producers, cheese producers, grain producers in the valley. So I want to do an experiment once we have more perennial systems mature on our property to see how much we can grow. Any of you done that? Have any of you done that? And have you documented it?
Yes.
Have you shared it?
Yes.
Yay! Who are you?
I'm Mariah. I'm teaching the bug workshop tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll be talking to you. Again, these are, people need to hear these examples. And so I want to share a few examples for you of people in my community who inspire me, right? And are examples who don't necessarily, they're not saying permaculture here and there, but they're doing things that we would consider permaculture. J.C. Rothschiller from Gallatin Valley Botanical. It's one of the first market garden farms, CSA farms in the valley. Then Levon Stuckey, she owns Serenity Sheep Farm Stay, where she's got chickens and sheep and llamas. She has people, she does farm stays for people. So she's had people from across the world come and stay in these little sheep wagons that she has, right? Awesome, like tons of people that have come and seen how she lives and what she does and how she farms. These two women together, along with a third one, founded a group called Women of the Dirt in southwest Montana. And it's basically a listserv where all of these women, farmers, ranchers share information, they share resources, they share ideas. So in a way, right, it's a permaculture example, right? They're not like, oh, they didn't know anything about permaculture, but it's a way in which people are networking and sharing information. This is that social systems design.
If anyone wants to talk about Women of the Dirt.
Awesome.
Could we see your face?
Some of us didn't hear what it was.
Women of the Dirt.
Women of the Dirt.
Some people now I know are like, it should be Women of the Soil. Women of the Dirt sounds better, but yeah. Heather McDonald, young woman who started a company called Whole and Nourished, where she mostly sources local food and she makes meals for people and delivers them to people. So she's not only, you know, pushing local food in the community, she's helping people that are super busy but still want local food. Leslie Witter, she started Root to Rise Gardens just this past year. It's both an Airbnb, right, a bed and breakfast place, a place where she teaches yoga, and then she started a market garden, and she uses the produce from the garden to feed the people that come to the Airbnb. And of course, when people are on vacation, right, people are more open to ideas, right? And so they're more willing to see what you have to say. And then Erin Jackson and Sam Bloomquist, she's not in this picture, but Erin is here. And they work for Gallatin Valley Farm to School. And they're bringing gardens into schools in the Gallatin Valley area, right? So again, none of these people necessarily are talking about permaculture, but this is permaculture, what they're doing, right? They're in my community, I know them, they're friends of mine, they're beautiful people, women, doing really great work. So, another little exercise, we're going to do the same thing with my hand up. Think of someone who's creating an example in your community and share what they're doing with your neighbor. You have to be the example. So, because the media isn't providing that, right, we have to be the media, and we certainly have done that, right? YouTube has revolutionized permaculture. Permaculture is way more out there in the world because of online courses and because of convergences. But we need to do more of that. So we all need to take action, right?
Become YouTube.
And we all don't need to be YouTubers, but we can, right? Take action, take a bold action, right? That's somewhat, again, testing that edge. It doesn't mean that you have to like make a permaculture movie or write a 300-page book, right? Do what is, but you can, that's totally fine, but do what is bold for you, right? For me, it used to be, I'm gonna teach this course to like 15 people, That was a bold step for me. And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna put a website together. That was kind of bold. Oh, and then I'm gonna shoot a couple videos. That was bold. So whatever that is for you, find that edge and just go a little bit beyond that. So what I want you to think about, right, is what action will you take to expand permaculture's reach? And I want you to think about that throughout the weekend, because you might have an idea right now, which is awesome, right? But think about it over the weekend. I'd love for you to come up to me and tell me what that action is going to be. And I'd love to continue to have these conversations about how to expand permaculture's reach. Anyone want to share a bold action that they want to take? There's a child over there.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm looking to raise $1 million using engineering firm in my town that builds biochar.
Great. Yes.
And be an example on thousands of acres of industrial ag that it can use ecological farming, no-till or strip-till, and biochar to completely transform industrial agriculture. Starting where I live, like covering on farms across the Great Plains.
Awesome. Great. Bold action.
We're utilizing Airbnb as a resource because they have such a far-reaching, that you can get paid for sharing your example.
Yes.
At the same time,
Yes.
you've got students.
And Rob gives every one of them a full tour of education.
Cool.
It's a lot of fun.
That's great.
Well, this is still very preliminary, but I want to throw this out in case there's anyone who would be interested in talking with me more about this weekend. I've been doing bird surveys since this spring on about 200 acres of grassland along a stream that was heavily grazed and now is in the process of being restored by a land trust in Helena. So I've been observing this site and really just observing, thinking, like, how would I manage this if I were managing it, and watching them spray herbicides and plan to spend millions of dollars to change the stream course when I think maybe they could reintroduce beavers or something. I would love to, if anyone would be interested in talking with me about permaculture solutions for maybe not producing food on a property, but restoring ecological function and bringing in community involvement and education in a good way, and maybe putting together a proposal to the land trust or figuring out how can I reach them and maybe bring some different ideas to them.
That's great.
What's your name?
Shane.
Shane. Charlotte.
So I have an international initiative which has just barely started. I absolutely believe that growing food can do ecological restoration in combination with trees and herbs and so the goal is starting with everybody's grass and going towards everybody's gardens. And actually what I'm seeing, and this came to me when I was on the East Coast where they were having a severe drought about 50 miles from the ocean. And if you know about hydrology, when you have a drought 50 miles from the ocean, it's a very serious problem. It means the whole system's breaking down. And they were very excited to learn how they could. And so this workshop that I'm giving here, and it'll all be on the web so you can see it. But it's all about, and it's permaculture methods, but it's minimalized. So you're not growing with fertilizer or irrigation in order to restore the ecology. And that our forests, why I was saying that thing about Massachusetts, our forests have been poisoned and we need to get the microbes back into the forest. So anyway, this is, my website is handsonpermaculture1.org.
Great.
And all these methods are pretty much on there, but they will be more delineated.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks. And again, I encourage you, I'd love to hear more bold actions during the weekend. I'd love to hear how you're going to expand permaculture's reach. So this year's theme is From Water Comes Life, right? And as permaculture principles, we understand how important water is, right? We understand that we need to slow it and spread it and sink it and store it, right? And how essential it is to life. I want you to think of yourself as having the properties of water, right? You can be ripples, you can be drops in the bucket, you can be waves, you can be hurricanes, or you can be tsunamis, right? But I like the idea, the analogy that water drips through stone, right? And that the work that we do as permaculture practitioners, it's the long game, right? With things that we might not see in our lifetime. But we have to be persistent, we have to be consistent, and with our writing, with our teaching, with our community building, with our networking, with our stories. And over time, we wear away at what we once thought was unchangeable. So I've been trying to come to terms when Michael asked me to do this talk. I was like, well, usually keynote presentations are supposed to be hopeful, right? And I've been trying to come to terms of whether or not I am hopeful. Because I dwell in the realm of cynicism a lot. And maybe more often than I want to, right? But then I think that if I wasn't hopeful, right, I wouldn't be planting a food forest, right? If I wasn't hopeful, I wouldn't have put in that new cherry tree and planted it this growing season, right? And I've realized actually that the abundance in a permaculture system is resilient, right? Not only because of the food that it produces or the soil that it builds, right? But the gratitude that it cultivates. It's been my teacher in reminding me of the beauty and the abundance that I do have when the world seems like it's falling in. So as the ecological crises on this planet deepen, as war rages in the name of religion, but it's really about access to resources and climate change, right? As the hate seems to be rising in this country and elsewhere, we must act, right? And it has to be now. We must engage, right? It's the only antidote to despair sometimes. So turn your outrage, turn your bewilderment, right? Turn your overwhelm, turn your passion, turn your love, right? Into some kind of action. And we have to immerse ourselves in these stories of hope and change. We have to wake up every morning and read about all of these great examples that people are creating. We have to be the examples that people then write about, that people read about, that people are creating. And I'm speaking to everyone here, but I just want to make a shout out to the women in this world and in the permaculture movement, and to the people of color. We need to hear your voices, we need to hear your stories, and we need to see your examples of what you're doing. So create something, grow something, plant something, write something, dance, sing, do something, because creating something is the only thing louder than destruction. Thank you and have a great weekend.